Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jérôme Delay, and I'm the head of the entertainment division at TwinMedia. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you to MIPTV. As you know, this year, MIPTV is celebrating the new age of storytelling. And to tell you more about storytelling, we have 4 stellar media mastermind keynote this afternoon. And for our first session, I am honored to welcome not one, but 2 masterminds, the chairman and CEO of STUDIOCANAL, Olivier Courson, and the president and partner of Tandem Communications, Rola Bauer. In 6 years, Olivier Courson developed STUDIOCANAL, building it into a European studio, the company being today one of the leaders of feature films production, acquisition, and distribution. In 2012, Olivier Courson did a strategic move for STUDIOCANAL in TV business by taking a majority stake in Tandem Communications. And last December, he expanded STUDIOCANAL's ambition in TV, investing in UK's Red production company with the objective of becoming a European leader in content. Rola Bauer, Golden Globe and 2-time Emmy-nominated producers, were recognized this year by The Hollywood Reporter as one of the 25 most powerful women in global TV. She has pioneered international co-production for the last 20 years.
Hello, bonjour, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome on stage Rola Bauer, President and Partner of Tandem Communications. And Olivier Courson, Chairman and CEO of STUDIOCANAL, the leading movie major in Europe. Welcome and thank you.
Very much.
I've got a very easy question to start this keynote, Rola. Why did you decide to work with STUDIOCANAL? Because STUDIOCANAL bought your company 2 years ago. So why did you decide to go with STUDIOCANAL instead of, I would say, a traditional American studio?
It was actually pretty easy. The French have great food, they've got great wine, and supposedly they're great lovers. I don't know yet. It was a decision that was clear for us because it's a good partnership of 2 like-minded people who believe in quality and who believe in the talent and the story and building that from the ground up. Not always easy to do, but something that if you start from that basis, then you can let the creativity take the first step.
Olivier, in history of STUDIOCANAL, the purchase of Tandem Communication and recently Red in England is a major step in the company history. Why did you decide to go this way, and how would you define today the studio strategy in film and television?
So in fact, this was a second step in our global strategy, which was to build a European studio. As you know, there was an attempt a few years ago with Polygram on the feature film side. And we had a different strategy. So we began with the feature film, trying to build an alternative to the US studio production and distribution, which is great, but more targeting teenagers with big blockbusters and so on. And so we had the feeling that there was a need and maybe a wish to see also something different, more on the author space, but also thrillers like Non-Stop or Big Brand. And we are very happy to introduce you to Paddington. So that's the first. So you see the new Paddington. So we believe that we have great brands, great talents in Europe, and that we have something to do with them. And so we shared this philosophy with Rola. And it was the second step. So after building our operation in France, UK, Germany, and more recently Australia and New Zealand, building our international production slate, and with the slate financing with us too, to move in the TV series was quite natural. And we wanted it with partner. We wanted to do it, in fact, with partners sharing the same philosophy, meaning that, and this is very important. I would like to insist on that. That basically, obviously, the US production is amazing. The level of the US production is amazing, but they are mainly focused on their domestic market. And for us, the big difference is that our domestic market, in fact, is the European market. So we want to be at the same level of production, but targeting mainly and primarily the European market. And so we share this philosophy with Rola. So they have done before a fantastic TV series such as Pillar of the Earth, World Without End, and so on, based on very famous IPs, European IPs. We have also great books and IPs, and so it was quite natural fit. And very important, Tandem, and this is absolutely unique, has amazing skills on the production side, but also on the distribution side. And for us, it's key as a studio to be able to produce and distribute.
Olivier and Rola, you've been working for more than 2 years now. How would you describe now the synergies between you within the group, within STUDIOCANAL?
Well, I mean, part of the discussion today is about this European sensibility and global appeal. So every time we're developing something, we're trying to make sure that we have hit a story that will transcend the boundaries. As Olivier said, we have our roots in Europe. We produce out of Europe. We look for European talent. Yes, we also work with American writers, but if you look at the choices of the stories, or if you look at the choices of the actors, they're coming from Europe. So one of the things that we've been trying to do with the synergy of the two companies is looking at the back catalog of STUDIOCANAL, seeing what's there as a library, as a remake. You also saw another company here called Red. Red is a very prolific British company who has done quite successfully British productions, and when STUDIOCANAL invested in them, we were very excited because they also have a back library that we're looking at and seeing if there's the next step for Tandem to do local programming, meaning German language programming as an idea, and seeing if we could work with Red to take some of their development slate, at which after 3 months we've already identified one, and do it on an international level.
What's interesting, you were talking about European talents, and if we judge about the current slate and what you've done in the past, you've got access to most of the best European talents. So how it's going to work from film to television now?
So that's something very important for us. In fact, you're right. One of our main goals is to attract and retain the best talents. So most of them are European. So when you see the little film, the actors, directors, and are mainly Europeans. Obviously, we are very happy to partner with key US talents such as the Coen brothers. We did the Coen brothers last movie, but I think they have a European sensibility too. So what we would like to do, in fact, is to try to take the best of both worlds. I mean, for instance, I think that there is a fantastic way of telling story on the TV series right now. So there are different ways, but it's very exciting, and it's very appealing even for great directors or talents coming from the movie side, and maybe to try to build bridges between the two worlds, with writers coming from the TV world and the big directors coming from the movie side. And we have a lot of great actors, and so.
Rola, let's go back to the creative part of the fiction process. How would you define the differences between basically a show in development in a European environment and a show in development in an American environment? I would say a traditional American studio environment.
Well, I'm Canadian, so I can't speak
so
for
the
American. But when I was working on co-productions at Alliance, it's not different from the way we're doing it in Europe. You take a look at an idea, or if you're adapting a book, you see if the best way of adapting it is to give it 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. It starts from the creative vision. And when you're developing that with a writer, then what you have to do is, after you've figured out what that world is, where would it be best suited? Is it best on a pay TV channel? Is it best on a free TV channel? How do you look at it so that it's giving the vision that the writer is going to take the best space? Do you do it as a European production, Meaning, do you focus on having a certain look and a style of shooting in Europe, or do you double for a North American location and maybe even possibly go shoot in South Africa or shoot in Canada for America? And those are the first steps that we take a look at when we're analyzing something, and we're trying to figure out what's the best way of giving this story the best space it could have. And it's quite important for us that we are able to have that global appeal, because if we don't find a home for it in the US, and we don't always look for a home in the US immediately. In fact...
But what's interesting is that,
yeah.
and if you judge by your past production, everything you've done from a European point of view has been one way or another coming to the US on the major networks. And you've been working with a major network in the US and the major network in Europe.
Thank God. That's all I have to say. Because otherwise we'd have a business plan that wouldn't work. But yes, it's a very, very important thing. How do you create a story? How do you look for stories that transcend those boundaries? I can't give you a magic answer, but sometimes you feel something, you hear something, and in fact, even now, we have Crossing Lines is playing on Netflix as we speak, and CW is playing Labyrinth, the limited mini that we have, and CW will air that in May. So we have been able to find the right home for all of our stuff. To me, that's proof that you can produce in Europe. Of course, STUDIOCANAL has been doing it for years in theatrical, and in television, you can have something that crosses that pond.
And would you say that after the creative part, when you go to the production process and the distribution process, is it different in a European environment from an American environment? How would you define both? Because you've been working in both environments.
No, I think a good story is a good story. You break a story in the same way that you would talk about, here's an adaptation of a Ken Follett book, for example. If a lot of people, in fact, I think one of the reasons why Scott Free and Tandem won the rights to do that is that a lot of people had gone to him and said, oh, this should be done as a 4-hour mini. Because at that time, that's all people were producing. 10 or 15 years before, they had Shogun, Thornbirds, these big epics. We said, no, this book needs at least 6 hours. In the end, we made 8 hours. The network executives thought we were out of our fucking minds. I mean, they just thought, sorry, excuse me, excuse my language, sorry. Out of our minds.
We're in Europe.
Yes.
There's a main difference.
So they thought we were out of our minds because nobody had done 8 hours as a limited series. Look at the trend today. Everybody is going for 8-hour minis. So there is an interesting change, I'd say, a wave that sometimes happens, and you have to believe in that creative vision, and you have to take that risk. If you don't take that risk, that story is never going to be told properly.
But on the production side, you commit to a full season, whereas in the American there is this pilot system.
We talked a lot about that when we got together.
That's very significant, I think, difference. So again, we start from Europe. We build our production with European partners, 1 or 2, and with very different views on the pay TV side and on the free TV side on what we should deliver. Each time very high quality of production, but very different in terms of genre and serialized or not, etc. But the big difference is that we don't wait to have a US cable or broadcaster to commission a series or a pilot. We go straight to the series. But so for that, we need to take time to develop, in fact. So there is it's a very important step to make sure that we
And would you say it's a safer option or a more dangerous option?
No, as long as you have as long as you take time to develop and have a very good script, good arch, good characters, and so on, and you have reliable partners. It's not so. Then and again, as you mentioned, then the distribution team has to sell for the rest of the world, and all the Tandem shows have been sold. So the difference now, what we are doing is that we will do more international TV series. Our goal is to do up to, in the coming years, 7 international TV series per year, which is a lot, not only obviously with Tandem, because I think it takes time to do that. But so Red will also develop a slate of international TV series, and we will develop relation with other production companies, whether via stakes, first look deals, and so on. So
would you say that more is yet to come on STUDIOCANAL parts in
there
television
will be
business?
more to come, more to come. So we would like really to develop very be very voluntaries to develop this TV division, and with a lot of partners, and develop the synergies between the companies, and build a very strong lineup of international and also local TV series, but always with a very high level of production value.
As we are, sorry.
No, I just wanted to say, I mean, the going straight to series that Olivier just mentioned is something which is rare by network, US network. And the Brits have been doing it for 6 episodes for a long time. So when we sat down about getting into the partners together, it was a big deal for us that we could go into 1-hour series. And I remember having the discussions, how was the appetite? And the great thing is, they had no desire to be pilots, which was wonderful, because neither did we, but to go into that straight to series. And today, somebody was giving us a statistic that was really surprising. About 7% of what the Americans have ordered have been straight to series last year. This year, 21%, which is like 3 times, have been ordered are straight to series.
Still a minority.
So while they're still doing a lot of pilots, and you're right, it's still a minority, it's pretty interesting how even the way it's changing in America, and that the trend by the Americans is to, hey, let's take that budget and see how far we can stretch it. And when they do order, they don't order the 22 anymore. They order the 12 or 13. And that, again, is a trend that says to me, we in Europe have an opportunity to look to fulfill all those other time slots where there are not 22 episodes coming from American series. And that's interesting and exciting to be able to do that.
We are today in the most important television market in the world, and you are masterminds. So you're supposed to have vision. So what, according to you, would define the trends in fiction in the years to come?
So that we don't have any all the clues. The feeling we have is that the needs, as I said, are very different from on the pay TV side, on the free TV side. Pay TVs are looking really for more serialized, more intense TV series. Can be whether miniseries or returning TV series, but more intense. And the feeling we have is that, and especially European broadcasters are looking for non-serialized, more mainstream procedural crimes and so on. And the feeling we have is that they don't find, for the time being, all they want. So we believe that there is an interesting space if we are able to deliver the volume and the quality, which is a prerequisite for everybody. So.
And Rola?
I think broadcasters in Europe, at least, are having a need to have their local voices, which is great, and I think that's really important. And I think that there is a desire to have more local voices. However, there is always going to be a need, partly because local voices sometimes means there's more of a financial demand for the broadcaster to pay more. There's also going to be a complementary need to look for those stories that touch people with emotions, or stories that may resonate for them with a European resonance or a local resonance, but the stories may be a little more global. And they're open for that. They definitely are. So it's a narrative that it's taken us a while to get here. We're actually going to be in the summer 15 years old, and people are talking about co-productions. I did my first one in 1985.
With HBO?
It was for HBO. It was at Alliance. It was a co-production between Canada and France, actually. And we shot in Israel, and we had an amazing time.
Sword of Gideon.
It was Sword of Gideon as a 4-hour mini. But it just shows trends are coming back. People are open to ideas. People are open to sitting around at the same table together and creating together, and at the same time want to and need to have a theme that resonates for their local audience. Even if it's a global appeal, it must have something for their audience. If it doesn't, they won't get the ratings.
This is how you explain this trend that a lot of shows, a lot of local shows now are traveling more and are having a much wider audience than before, than European
absolutely.
series have.
There's an openness, yes.
Absolutely, you can feel that original things with a strong identity works very well. They work very well in their country of origin, but can travel also. So it's obvious in Scandinavia, for instance.
Yes.
Right now it's very interesting, amazing shows in Scandinavia. And by the way, I think we'll extend our operation in Scandinavia with talents in Scandinavia. They have a real ability to tell stories which are really universal, but with a very strong identity. So I think you can't oppose. You can have a very strong identity and still be very universal. And so maybe there is a wish today to feel the identity, whether from a country or even European. So it doesn't mean that it's not putting artificially one actor from a country and so on. That's not it. It's really telling stories which are meaning something for the people.
In the recent days, Tandem and STUDIOCANAL made headlines with a lot of announcements. So what are your upcoming projects and what are we supposed to expect from both of you?
Yes, we are happy to announce that actually we are diving into the pay TV world, which we have, Pillars was on Canal+, was also on Stars. So,
and then on France 3, so it's interesting to see
and also had a home on Free TV and France 3 or Reels. So we have worked with pay TV broadcasters, but now we have been commissioned our first by Canal+, so we're doubly happy because they are a very, very hard partner to please. Even if we're cousins, they're very demanding. They have world-class, as you know, from The Returned and other Emmy Award-winning shows. And so we have our first 1-hour series. It's straight to series, 10 episodes, and it's called Spotless. We have as a director for the first 2 episodes is Pascal Chaumel, who has done, some of you may know from his feature Heartbreaker. Also in France, it's better known as Arnaqueur. So he's directing our first 2 hours, and our co-creators are Ed McCarty and Corinne Marinin. So that is our first series for Canal+, which starts production in June of this year.
It's in English?
And also...
In English?
Oh, yes. I don't know if it's clear for everybody. We only,
in London.
Yeah, we only work in English.
And how would you define the tone? Because it's supposed to be quite daring, especially if you judge by what the showrunner has done before.
Yes, exactly. And this is going to be a dark comedy that is going to surprise people. A lot of fun with wonderful characters. So that's the big announcement we wanted to do, because Crossing Lines was our first series, which STUDIOCANAL helped us to do and get off the ground. We just wrapped on Crossing Lines 2, our second season. So we've now completed 22 episodes, and we're moving forward to develop the scripts for the 3rd season. And Spotless is our second series, and we announced Sex, Lies, and Handwriting the other day, which is a co-venture we're doing with Lionsgate. And that also is going straight to series for 12 episodes. Interesting sort of production, because we're not shooting in Europe on that one. And we realized it didn't need to be shot in Europe. So while I'm talking about sometimes the European sensibility is coming from being here and shooting here, it depends on the story. And the story was better suited and better looked after by shooting in North America. And then the last little announcement, which I'm going to tease before you tell me to shut up, is that one of the strategies that STUDIOCANAL has encouraged us to do is to get closer to talent, meaning to creators, to writers, to showrunners. And we have just made a deal with an executive producer, highly acclaimed, award-winning, and we're very proud, and we're going to tell you all about it after at our press conference. So.
And I guess, Olivier, you've got more news to come on the red part, on the other branch of the STUDIOCANAL.
So they are doing they are doing a lot. Just to give example, so this year and with very different partners, and that we absolutely want to keep that, by the way, to work with all the partners, so and to feed the different needs. So Happy Valley for BBC One, Scott and Bailey for ITV, so new season, and a very original one with Russell T Davies, very famous showrunner, and they did
Queer as Folk.
Queer as Folk. It was, I think, one of their first and very recognized, obviously, TV series. So,
and you rebranded Doctor Who.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, right, and they have a real ability to also to work in the long time with very great talents. Also, Sally Wainwright, we wrote Scott and Bailey. So, Cucumber for Channel 4, and it is very interesting, quite new. They will decline the characters, and there will be banana on E4, and there will be tofu just online. So it's a very new, brand new concept, very original concept. Yeah.
So before leaving this stage, I would like to showcase some images of the second season of Crossing Line, which is a world premiere.
It is. Thank you.
I spent my entire life tracking and capturing war criminals. I can never allow one of them to be set free.
Welcome to New Scotland Yard. These lads are from the ICC and need our help in rescuing their leader from a Russian gangster.
I want everyone who comes dead. Everyone.
We're on! Right, lads, let's go to work!
Hey, Carl. How are you, buddy?
Philip Genovese. He's in New York.
They arrived.
We are so far behind him on this one. You and I both know that is not the place you want to be with him.
Tell us where Genovese is so we can lock him up before he gets another shot at you.
I can't devote my life to a system capable of that.
Things have changed, Dorn. We gotta move.
Not a whiff of corruption must touch this court.
This part I didn't need, the part where you lose someone.
When you are a family, sometimes you lose people.
A good cop spends almost every moment of every day afraid.
Why didn't you tell me? Do you think I wouldn't want to be part of his life?
Checkmate.
Thank you, Rola. Thank you, Olivier. I invite you all to Tandem and STUDIOCANAL press conference taking place in a few minutes in Auditorium J, where further and important announcements will be made. And in a few minutes, on this very stage, Maurice Levy, chairman from Publicis, chairman and CEO, will have a keynote with you. Thank you and good afternoon.